We are here.
Okay, so can we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Okay.
am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Actually,
Okay, ma'am.
it happened with me that I muted myself, so I couldn't hear you that time. Anyway, so let's start. So let me introduce myself once again. I'm Jyoti Sharma, and I'm the TA of Dr. Arun Avadhia, and the course is Conservation Geography. So this is the week 8, and we will start with this. Conservation of biodiversity. So we have three topics that need to be covered today. So the first topic is threat to species. So whatever the threat we have with the species, we will try to discuss it. Then what's the mode of conservation we have, and then the benefit of the conservation. So let's start it with so first we have to keep in mind what the threat is. Okay, so we have the definition. Definition says a threat to the species refers to any factor or condition that poses a significant or potentially harmful impact on the survival, population size, or long-term viability of that species. So you have to keep in mind that it is a factor or the condition. So what the factor is, what kind of conditions we have by which it poses a significant impact. Okay, so we will discuss it at length, like what kind of factors we have that causes that threat to the species. Okay, this threat can be like both natural and the human induced. We will discuss it later as well. Then this threat to the species can lead to the decline in their number, a reduction in their uh, uh, habitat range. Okay, Kuldeep. So we will try to it discuss at very length and try to explore as much as possible. Then, or even their extinction if not addressed. So we first have to keep in mind that there is some factor, there is some condition that lead to the threat, that lead to species be threatened. Okay, so I downloaded it from the IUCN website. So there is an organization known as IUCN, that is International Union for Conservation. So this IUCN keeps the record of how many species has been extinct, how many species are in extinct in the wild. So this organization or this website have all the data that we need. So let's see here. So this is the updated one. We have right now 914 extinct species. So what do you mean by extinct? Means these species has been extinct. Extinct means finished, like they are no more in the natural habitat, they are no more in the captivity, they are no more in the zoos, aquarium, like they are not right now on in the world. Okay, so it means it has been extinct. So right now, up to now, 940 species has been extinct. Okay, now we have EW. So these are the terminology that you have to keep in the mind. So what the first was the extinct, the second was the EW. EW means extinct in the wild. So can anyone explain what is this extinct in the wild? Danish?
Ma'am, extinct in the wild, something which belongs from the forest area.
Extinct in the wild means suppose tiger lives in the forest area. Okay, so right now tiger is no longer in the forest, but yes, we can like see them in the zoos or in some captivity or in the breeding center. Like they right now are not in the natural habitats. Okay, so they are not in the forest. Suppose let's say we have the mangrove forest, and if we have one species of mangrove, so they are not in the we can't see them in the mangrove forest, no, right now. Okay, they can be present in the captivity or zoos or some like botanical garden. We can find them, but we can't find them in the natural habitat where they used to be survive. Okay, so this is the extinct in the wild. Like in the wild or in the natural habitat, they has been extinct, but they are present in somewhere where we can do some conservation of these species. So this is the extinct in the wild. Got it, Danish? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then we have the regionally extinct. So regionally extinct means, suppose we have a tiger or the lion. It may be that tiger lives in the MP as well as in the let's say in the Western Ghat. So it may be happen that in the Western Ghat tiger has been extinct. Okay, so regionally it has been extinct from one region, but no doubt tiger has more than one habitat, so it can be present in another habitat. But because it is regionally extinct means at the one region it has been extinct, but it can be present in another region as well. So this is the regionally extinct. So this is the level of the threat we have. So if we see the extinct, it has been finished, we no more have any species like that. So this is 940. Then we have extinct in the wild, like they are only present in the captivity or in the artificial environment, they are not present in the natural habitat, so the number is 86. Then we have the regionally extinct, means they are present in some region, but in some region, in some their natural habitat, they has been extinct. So this is the regionally extinct. Okay, then we have the critically endangered, means because of some factors, we will discuss these factors. What are these factors? Because of some factors, it may be happened that the species has been reduced in the number, or something has been happened by climatically, that the population has been reduced, or the like the species structure has been distorted. So it the condition is like that, it may be extinct if we do not conserve it. Okay, so this is the critical endangered. So this is the range, like we start from least concern, like the species is safe because we are least concern, we don't need to conserve it. So this is the least concern. Then near threatened means something is happening with the species, the like the property or the some parameter of the species are being distorting. Okay, so we have to like somewhat have to care about that species. So this is the near threatened. Then the lower risk, vulnerable, endangered, critical. So from there to there, we have to conserve more if something is happening. So we have that numbers. So you can see if like so we have some effect, we will have some impact after if the species get extinct. So let's see. Okay, this slide I also took from this IUCN, in which the website says more than 20 to 42,000 species are threatened with extinction. Okay, so they also gave some number like amphibians 41% are threatened, mammals 27% are threatened, and can you see cycads, these are 69% near to the extinction, or they are threatened with the extinction. Okay, so I want to know the answer why we have the cycads that have the highest percentage of threatened. So why it is, and what do you mean by cycads? So do you know, Danish or Kuldeep, what cycads are?
Ma'am, cycads are basically the plants.
Okay, the plants, mostly the gymnosperm plants. You know the difference between gymnosperm and angiosperm?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there are some kind of sperms. Okay, so these gymnosperms are being extinct or are threatened with extinction. So why it is that? What may be the possible
Ma'am,
reason? You just need to guess.
population.
What population?
Uh, Population is the main reason behind the decline of or the destruction of the natural habitat, because like clearing of forest can get more and more lands which can be used for building settlements.
Okay, so your answer is right. Like because of overpopulation of human being, it is happening that our natural habitat are being destroyed, and because of that, we are losing many species. But my question was because the species are like varying in the percentage of losing. So why cycads have the highest number? So Kuldeep, can you guess about it? Kuldeep, are you here? Or he went somewhere? Okay. So the reason behind it is that because it has very less population growth rate. And because of very less population growth rate, like suppose it take mostly 10 years to germinate, to produce some seeds. Okay. So if you have two species, one species is producing the seed very frequently, let's say in 4 months or 5 months, but in the case of cycads, it is producing the seeds like in 10 years, in 11 years. It takes decades to produce the seed. So the growth rate of these cycads are very low. That's why, and even the germination of seeds are very low because of the hard structure that have surrounding the seeds. Okay, so the germination is very hard. The growth rate is very low, so that's why these cycads are threatened with extinction with a very high proportion. Okay, so these are the, like, you can see which category of the wildlife or which category of the flora and fauna is higher in the threatened category. Okay. Now we have some species that been extinct. So this is also from the IUCN website. Here we can see EX. EX means extinction. So these kind of species has already been extinct. Okay, so can you see this snail, this different type of plantae, or here we can see the botanical name or the scientific name of the species that has been extinct. Here we can see the status, either it has been extinct or the critically endangered. So we can see here EX means extinct. It has been extinct globally. So here we have the global. So I told you approx 940 species has been extinct. So these are the different number in mammalia, in reptiles, in amphibia. Many species has been extinct globally. So so there may be some reason, there may be some factor, there may be some condition because of that species are being extinct. Okay, so we need to find out what are the reasons, what are the factors that are causing the because of that we are losing the species. Okay. Here we have one graph where you can see, and the one problem is also that because in Amazon forest there are some species that we know about them nothing. Like we don't have information about that species. So it may be that if the Amazon have 2000 species, we have only the record of suppose 1000 species. So we don't know the remaining 1000 species in the Amazon forest. Okay, so and we don't know when these species has been extinct or they are still alive or they are still surviving. So this is also this is also one of the main concern we have in the scientific community, and we want to document the every species we have all around the world, either it is the Amazon forest or it is the Western Ghat. So right now and up to now, we have approx 1,50,000 species that has been documented. Okay, and it may be that we have like it is saying scientist is saying that we have approximately like 50 or 60% species are there as well that has been not documented. So this number can be increased from 1,50,000. Okay, And can you see the rate of the threatened species? So right now we have approximately 40,000 species that are being threatened with the extinction, or threatened with some endangered or something else. Okay, so this is the rate by which we are losing our species, or we are giving the species a vulnerable condition. Okay, then yes, then because we saw the definition of that threat, so in the definition it says that it is any factor or the condition. So what are these factors? We have two factors we already have studied. What one is the push factor, and another one is the pull factor. Okay, so what is the push factor? Push factor, it is a condition that leads to species to go away from their natural habitat. Like, it is pushing the species to go somewhere else. And pull factor means the condition is favorable, the factors are in such a way that they are attracting the species to come with it. Okay, so we have two factors, push factor and pull factor. But because it is a threat to the species, so threat means it is impacting the species in a very negative way. So if it is a negative way, then we will talk only about this push factor, because this is the factors that are pushing the species away from their natural habitat. Okay, so let's talk about this push factor. And yes, there is a line that push factor everywhere and pull factor nowhere. Like, we the human being or the climatic condition is making a condition in such a way that there is push factor everywhere and pull factor nowhere. Okay, then we have some ecological push factor, and we have also some population dynamic and extinction push factor. So let's talk about it one by one. So if there is a if the habitat is not suitable for the organism or for the species, so what will happen? Species will not survive here, right? Species have to go somewhere else where the habitat is conducive for it, where the habitat is favorable for it. Okay, so when this habitat will not be suitable, there are some condition. There may be case that habitat has become too hot or too cold. Okay, if we talk about the cold desert or the dry cold desert and hot deserts, so here, because of this too hot and too cold, these the conditions, too hot and too cold, is leading to the species to go away from that habitat. Okay, so this is no suitable habitat. Okay, this is the one condition, and this can be induced by human, and this can be induced by the climate as well. Second example is that if we don't have the trees, if we have cut down the trees, then there will be, and suppose we have some 100 of species of birds that are surviving on these trees. And if we have no trees, and these there are some, like, these are the birds that are dependent on the fruits or the seeds that they get from the trees. Okay, so these birds will have no food. Okay, and no nutrient will be taken by these birds. So because this is not right now the conducive environment for that birds, they have to go somewhere wherever there are the trees. Okay, so this is the second condition. Then if there is a wildfire, what will happen? The Because of wildfire, suppose we have the deers. Okay, and deers survive on these grasses, because these are the herbivores. And because of wildfire, we don't have right now the grasses. So what will happen? The deer have to go somewhere else. Okay, so here as well, we don't have the suitable habitat for the deers. So this is the completely burnt out situation. Then we have rich in noxious factor. It may happen that because of human intervention, we are releasing the dangerous gases. We are dumping our sewage in their habitat in such a way that they are releasing some chemicals, they are releasing some type of gases or the polluted water in such a way that they can't survive anymore. So this is the rich in noxious factor. Then it may be happen that because there is a natural forest and human thought that because I'm not getting that much benefit because of that habit, because of that natural forest, I should grow the mango tree. Okay, so there are some birds that like to grow on, let's say, the people tree, but they are their behavior is like that they can't grow on this mango tree. Okay, so what will happen? Because of their behavior, uh, they will not survive on the mango trees or the forest, or the condition that has been created by the human, like the mango plantations. Okay, so this is the condition, non-suitable habitat. This is the one of the ecological push factor that are pushing the species to go away, to go somewhere else, because we have created the habitat very unfavorable for them. Okay, the second is compete it out. If we created some condition, or if there is a condition within the habitat or the ecosystem that there is a high level of competition among the species, so what will happen? And what will happen? Because of that competition, one will survive and another will have to go somewhere else. Okay, so and this can be happen due to the invasive species. So can you name some invasive species, Danish?
Ma'am, I know one which we have discussed in previous classes, that is Jalkumbhi. I don't know what we say in English.
I couldn't hear you properly. Can you say again?
Ma'am, am I audible now? Hello?
Okay. Okay.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Am I audible now?
Yes. Right now you are audible.
Ah, okay. So I only know one species that
Mm-hmm.
in Hindi we call it Jalkumbhi.
Okay. So let me show you which is the Jalkumbhi here.
Um, Ma'am, this one, this with purple flower.
Yes, that purple flower that grows in the water. This is Jalkumbi, and it is also known as Eichhornia. Eichhornia is the botanical name. So can you see here we have the water body, and that water body has been covered with this invasive species. And because of that invasive species, there are and because what will happen? It will block the sunlight in the water body. Okay, and if it block the sunlight, we have the phytoplanktons beneath the surface of this water body, and they will be died. Okay, and they may be extinct if it completely blocked the light as well. Okay, so this is the Eichhornia. Can you name this one, Danish? This
Yes,
one,
ma'am, which one?
the first one.
Ma'am, I don't know the rest of these.
Have you seen this type of flowers in your
Yes, ma'am,
nearby?
I have seen, but I don't know their names.
Okay, so this is Lantana camara. So this is also the one of the beautiful ornamental plant we bought from abroad, and because it was firstly in the garden, but somehow it escaped from the garden and become and went to this natural forest or the natural ecosystem, and the seed production, the growth rate is very high of this species in such a way that it just destroy the native species we have in our country. So this is the Lantana camara, and you have also seen this type of grasses. This grasses is the Parthenium, or in Hindi, I think this is the Congress grass. Okay, so can you see the seed production of this plant or this grass? So the seed production is that much bulky. And the one point is also that it release some chemical in the soil or in their environment in such a way that it inhibit the growth of other plants or the other species. So in such a way that it just destruct the different type of species. So this is the kind of competition due to the invasive species. And what's the reason why they are blooming in such a way in our country? Because they don't have any competitor right now, because they are they were brought somewhere from different countries. Okay. So okay. So there is a competition that has been held by the invasive species, or there may be competition because there are too many predators or there are some disease. Because of that, we have the competition, and because of that competition, one species have to go away from that habitat in which that species was surviving. Okay. The another condition can be killed out. We human are very merciless, and we just kill out the tiger or cheetah for our praise or the appreciation, and or for some medicinal purpose or some another purpose. So heavy poaching is the one. Yes, we are selfish enough that we are killing out the species. So this is the heavy poaching as one of the example of the killed out. Okay. Then we have these type of, like, if we have no if we have unfavorable condition of the habitat, if we have the competition, if we have the, like, if heavy poaching is being there, so there may be conditions that the species or the population, suppose we have 50,000 individual in a population, so it may be happened that it reduced to 20 or 30,000. Okay. So whenever we talk about the large population and this large population reduced to the smaller population, then we are talking about the decline population paradigm. Okay. Then we have the small population dynamics. What happened in the small population dynamics? Suppose if we have only 50 or 100 individuals in a species or in a population. So what will happen if something unfavorable is there, if a flood comes or if a cyclone comes, it may vanish whole individual and it can extinct the species. Okay, so this is the small population dynamics, and we have two terminology here: the allele effect and the stochastic effect. So, what do you mean by allele effect? It is just like the relay race. If we have the larger species, and this larger species will stabilize our population. Okay. Okay, so this is the allele effect. If we have a smaller number of individual in the species, then the extinction will be okay. Kuldeep, it's not a big deal. You may have some work on Sunday. Okay, then we have this allele effect. It means if we have a large number of individual in a population, then we have some guarantee, we have some certainty that the species will not be extinct. I gave you one example. If we have some species, that species have to chase a prey. Okay. And that the individual of that species can't run much. So what will happen? The one individual will run few kilometer, then there will be another individual. The first individual will stop running, the another individual will run, and this way they can chase a prey. Okay, so this is the one example. Whenever you have the large population size, then you have more stability, and if you have the smaller population size, then this species can extinct very easily. So this is the small population dynamics. Then we have the stochastic death. What do you mean by stochastic death? Means there is some unfavorable condition that is not predictable and that is happening in that habitat or in that ecosystem in such a way that the species can be extinct. For example, we don't know, like there will be a flood or there may be a drought. Suddenly a flood or drought uh, come, and then the whole species can be extinct. But this extinction can be happen only if we have the small size population. If we have a large size population, we have the chances that species can survive. Okay, so these allele effect and stochastic, that are the factors within this small population dynamics. And if we, and the division under which we study this small population dynamic is the small population paradigm. Okay, then we have another factor, push factor, related to the population dynamics. So what are these? These are the deterministic factor or stochastic factor. So what's the difference between deterministic factor, stochastic factor? Whenever we have some certainty about some event, okay, and because of that there is some reduction in the population, then we will call it is the deterministic factor. So if we know that there is a x birth rate or there is a y death rate, so what will happen in the future if such and such rate will be constant? Okay, so this is the deterministic factor. Stochastic factor, like we don't know anything what will happen in the future, if there is the unpredictability. So again, this stochastic factor will affect the small size population but not on the large size population. So these are different factors of the threat. Because of these factors we are losing, or there is some impact on the species, or and these impacts are not the good but the adverse impacts. Okay, let's talk more about this stochastic factor. So stochastic factor, we have three type of stochastic factor. The first is demographic, related to the population. The second is environmental. This is related to like flood, the chance of drought, the chances of heavy precipitations. So this is the environmental factor. And the third is the genetic stochasticity. Because of some mutation in the gene, it may happen that species can be extinct. Okay, and these factors, either it is demographic or the environmental or the genetic, these will extinct the species only when there is a small size population. These will not affect the large size population, because large size population can reduce in the small size but will not extinct. Okay, so whenever there is the environmental variation or there is the catastrophic event such as forest fire or desert, or there is a like genetic processes, just like a mutation, if there is a mutation is happening, then the species may extinct. There is a terminology that is inbreeding depression. So Danish, can you explain what is inbreeding depression?
I don't know.
Okay, so do you know we have like in mostly in Hindu religion, what we say that the one person can't marry to the another person that is within the caste, or with that is genetically very similar. Okay, so this is based on some science. Danish, you are speaking something, I can't hear you.
Telling about Gotra system in the Hinduism, like the persons belonging to the same Gotras cannot
Yes,
marry themselves
exactly. So why they can't marry within
because
that same gotras?
because they are considered brothers and sisters.
Ma'am.
So they are just saying that we are approximately genetically same. Is it?
Yes, the person belonging to the same Gotras are genetically same.
Yes. So, and what happen if we are the genetically similar, and if these two people are breeding or they are reproducing, so what will happen? Because their genetic is same, because of that it may be happen that whatever the offspring they will have, they may have some disease, and this is called the inbreeding depressions. Like because of some same genetic or the similar genetic codes of that DNA or the RNA, we will get some disease, or we will get some at disadvantage advantage in the offspring. So this is the inbreeding depression. Kuldeep, do you want to say something?
No, ma'am. It is something new to me.
Okay, so it
Ma'am,
may be happen that
ma'am,
yes, yes, Kuldeep.
let me ask.
Yes.
So you were talking about the uh, caste, and Danish was talking about Gotra. So,
Yes. Yes.
so what do you wanna say, ma'am? I did not actually get it. Like, if um, if someone is marrying
Mm-hmm.
in same caste, then what will happen uh, after reproduction, after uh, new birth of child?
Okay. So we and Danish. Yes, Danish. What's your question?
Ma'am, can I answer this question?
Yes. Yes.
I have read about this. So basically, ma'am, you told about in the same caste, but it is believed that caste should be same, but the gotras should not be same, because
Exactly.
in the from the Rigvedic period, there are four ashrams, that is Varna system, and
Mm-hmm.
ashram system. So the
Yes.
Brahman should marry within the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas should marry within the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas marry
Okay.
within the Vaishyas, and Shudras with Shudras. But there are
Mhm.
there are different Gotras. The Gotra system basically emerged from the Rigvedic time. The Gotras, basically the meaning of Gotras are cow pens. The place where the cows are being like they are breeded, or they are like petted. So basically the economy of the Rig Veda system was based totally on the animal rearing. So basically there were different gotras within different families. So in starting they marry within the same gotras, but as the society developed and it shifted in the later Vedas, so basically the same gotra system changed, and they basically started marrying in different gotras and considering the same gotras, people of the same gotras, as the sisters or brothers, because of the interbreeding in because of the inbreeding of the same people of the gotras can give some mutations or diseases in the offspring. Another example is from the Egyptian sources, that from uh, the Egyptian king, the pharaoh, the last or the second last pharaoh, the Tutankhamen, he died because he had some issues, very severe diseases from his birth, because his parents were the sisters and brothers. That is why the Egyptian civilization like declined very rapidly. So I think these are the like favorable like reasons.
Yes, exactly. So what happened, Kuldeep? Kuldeep, I wanted to explain that if
Yeah.
we have the genetically similar people, suppose because it has been happening that because we are marrying in within our caste, or okay, so within our caste we have very similar genetic codes or the genetic structure, and if we talk about that that gotras, then because we are the offspring of very like our parents are very similar in the genetic. Okay, so within gotras we have very much similar genetic characters, but in the caste as well we
Yes,
have
similar.
like not that much similar, but yes, we have some similar
Similar.
genetic characters. So and if these people are breeding, then they may be happen that there may be inbreeding depressions, means if they people have the same genetic characters, that there may be some kind of depression or depression in the sense of disease, or depression in the sense of immunity, low immunity can be happened in the offspring of that individual, or of that couple. So this is all about like caste or gotras we were talking
So,
about.
ma'am, so there should be some variety, right?
Exactly. And you also like in previous lecture we were talking about the biodiversity, and we were saying that we have to maintain the genetic diversity as well. Okay, what is happening that if we are like let's take the example of crop as well. If we are doing the monocropping and pollination is happening within that crop, within that specific crop, so it may be happen that whatever the genetic code or the structure we have, it will maintain and it will become the final genetic character. We will lose the another characters of that genetic. Okay, so it may cause the inbreeding depression as well. So we have to biodiversities also means that we have to restore the genetics we have uh, in a very broad manner. Suppose if we have like species that have the suppose gray eyes, if one species have the black eyes, it means they have some difference in their genetic level. Okay, and if we are just selecting the gray eye population and we are removing the black eye population, so what will happen? It may be happen there is a inbreeding depression, and because of some natural selection, or maybe because of some conditions within our genetic level, these species can be extinct because of this inbreeding depression. So this was all about that genetic processes.
So, ma'am, there should be intersecting breeding, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
means
got it.
there should be like at least 3 or 4 generation should be different from the one with which you are marrying.
देख लेना गैम्स के अंदर ना कुछ हो, कॉट के नीचे, बेड के नीचे ना कुछ हो।
Ujma, are you saying something?
कल नागिया ने झाड़ू मारी तो फिर खिलौने साथ ही ले जाएगी।
Should I
वो
remove
सारी तो
the,
नहीं चोरियां करती, ऐसे नहीं कहते।
yeah? Okay. Let's remove. Okay. So next is, if we exceed the carrying capacity of an habitat, suppose if in the habitat, yes, Danish. Okay, so if in a habitat we can like this habitat have the resources in such a way that it can hold only 50 individual of a population, and if we are exceeding that carrying capacity, uh, then it may be happen that our species can be extinct. Then migration from the population is also one of the stochastic factor. Okay, so when if you want to remind that extinction factors, then there is an acronym, that is HIPPO. HIPPO means habitat loss, I means invasive, P means population, P means population over human overpopulation, and I think this P was the pollution. There may be some like error. Then O means over harvesting. So you can remember this acronym HIPPO, by which you can define different factors, and these factors lead to the threat to the species. Okay, let's talk about the impact of human that can have on our species. So each species have different effect. Okay, so if we have some if we are constructing industries first, then there may be condition that we have one side we have tiger, one side we have leopard. It may be happened that leopard extinct or tiger survives. Okay, so there is a sensitivity of the species. One may survive to the specific condition and another may die. So this is the sensitivity of the species, and this is dependent upon the adaptability and resilience of the species. So I gave you one example. if we have tiger and if we also have leopard, we know that tiger need a large home range, right? And leopard also needs a large home range, but because can you see leopard can climb on the tree as well, but that tiger can't. And whenever there is like encroachment or there is a human that are interfering the habitat, then this leopard can go on this tree and can survive, but tiger or the cheetah can't. So this is kind of adaptability and the resilience of the species. So if there is the same impact that human is giving to us to two different species, that it may be happen, one can survive and other can't, and it is because of the adaptability and the resilience of the species. Okay. And another sensitivity is like human attention. Can you see here, we can see one species. So what this species is, Danish? The
Mm.
first one.
Turtle.
Tortoise.
Yes, it is turtle or tortoise. So what happened, because human knows that this is the species from where we can get the medicine and we should diet. Okay, so what they do is that because human attention is more on this turtle than another species, so it may happen that this species can get extinct, but other species will survive. And in the inverse case as well happen, because we know that let's say it is a people tree and it is the religious human, because it has the religious human attention on it. Okay, so we will not cut down this people tree, will but can cut the neem tree, suppose. Okay, so because of human attention, yes, Kuldeep.
So, ma'am, how this attention will affect this species?
So we are talking about how the sensitivity of this species to the human impact. Like one species may have different impact as comparison to different species when we have the same human intervention. So one species can survive and another species can't survive because of the human attention. Okay, is it clear?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Then if we have the ecological overlap between human and the species, suppose we also want some plain area and some species live in the plain area, so the species that are in the hilly area will survive, but in the plain area will not survive. So this is the ecological overlap between human and the species. Then the home range requirement of the species, because we know that tiger needs a large home range, and we know that we have right now the shortage of the land. So what we will do, we will encroach, we will cut down the forest and we will like make some infrastructure there. So the larger home range species will extinct first as comparison to that are living in a very small area. So each species have different effect of the human and based on the approach of the human and based on the requirement of the human. Okay, then we want to know that in we have suppose 1 hectare area and we want to know how much species should be there. Okay, and if we are cutting down that forest, and if we are like right now if we have only half hectare of that full 1 hectare, so what will happen to the species richness? So we have one model, that is the island biogeography model, which tells about the species richness of that area or of that island. Okay, and this is S is equal to C multiplied by A, and this is raised to power Z. Okay, so S means species richness, C and Z are the constant, and the value of Z varies between 0.15 to 0.35, and A means the size of the island or the area of that island. So here is a one example, because we know that tropical forest, mainly the Amazon forest, we are losing 1.8% of that area per annum, and we are taking the lowest value of Z, that is 0.15. So if we calculate the species loss, that will be 0.27%. And if we have, suppose in the tropical forest, if we have 10 million species, so because of the species loss of 0.25, we have the loss of 27,000 species per year. So can you imagine, because of that 1.8% decrement in that area per annum, we can reduce 27,000 of species per year. So from there we can calculate this. Is it blank? Okay. So there is a one question, that is, are all species equally susceptible to extinction? Yes, Kuldeep.
No, ma'am. Obviously not.
Why?
Ma'am, uh, they tend to be, some are too sensitive to change, and
Yes.
some can even survive in severe conditions.
Exactly. And we can also say that if one species in large number, or the population size of one species is large and one species population size is very low, then we can also say that the species that have the low population size will extinct fast as comparison to the species that have the higher population size. And also we can say that, let's take the example of coral reef. Okay. Why we are concerning about coral reef? Because they are extincting very fast and we are losing that coral reef very fast. And why this is the case? Because they are surviving only some conditions, like if we have the temperature, if we have the temperature of ocean, let's say 20 degrees Celsius, or if we have the acidity of the ocean is 7 or 8, like the I'm talking about the pH, then only that coral can survive. And if because of some human intervention we are like ocean acidification is happening, ocean warming is happening, then this species will extinct. So these species are some kind of rare, and because of rarity we can say that each species are different. Yes, the coral bleaching. What is coral bleaching? Can you, Danish, explain?
Ma'am, basically bleaching means turning of the corals into their white, because
White or the faded color, right?
color, because the colors are provided by the microorganisms living in it, and due to the acidification of the seawater, the microorganisms somehow die and the colors become faded.
Exactly. So this is the coral bleaching, and this is mainly happening due to the ocean warming and the ocean acidification mainly. Philip, you wanted to say something?
No, no, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So the answer is rarity. It depends on the rarity of the species, and rarity is the function of ecology and evolutionary characteristics of the species. Now, the next question is, why are some species extinct? Kuldeep, can you explain? Yes, something?
Yeah, ma'am. Recently, there you can see there was a drastic change in the climate in recent
Yes.
times.
Yes.
Like the temperature is boosting and increasing more than it should be. It is not natural. It is man-made, or
Yes.
due to
So,
man.
so, so is it that we are narrowing down the range of survival?
Yeah, ma'am. Like the temperature is increasing, and the forests are cutting down. So the species are some sense so sensitive that they could not survive and they extinct.
So means you are creating some push factor, right?
Yeah, yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So we can summarize into 3 points. The one is because of some habitat selection and the evolutionary characteristics. Because some species, each specific species want to live in a specific habitat, and if this is not the right habitat, then this species will not survive. Then we have the limited geographical range because of human intervention, because of climate. Like if we have if the global is warming, then what will happen? It will go, the species will go somewhere wherever there is a like low temperature, or because it have to maintain the body temperature of their body, right? So we have right now the limited geographical range. And the third is low population density. If population become very low, then because of stochastic factor, it may be happen that it may extinct. Okay, then this is, I think, a very general thing, the impact on the habitat. So we have four kind of impact on the habitat. The one is human habitat degradation, another is fragmentation, displacement, and loss. So let's talk about it one by one. Habitat degradation. Can you define it? What do you mean by habitat degradation, Kuldeep?
Yeah, ma'am. Habitat degradation means uh, like the fauna and flora that are residing in a specific location,
Mm-hmm.
but the place is becoming like suffocating for them to
Yes. So
survive.
you are saying that whatever the habitat in which species is living, the quality of that habitat has been degrading.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So my definition is also same. The process by which habitat quality for a given species is diminished. Okay, so this is the habitat degradation. And what are different causes that are leading to the habitat degradation?
Like the
Ma'am, the
major one is
first
the temperature, increase in
Because of some
temperature.
climatic condition, how the quality will be diminished. Okay,
Like
so I
change
have.
in rainfall patterns.
Okay, so we have some casual agents. For example, contamination. If there is air or water pollution, then we can say the like we are introducing some dangerous or some dangerous gases in the atmosphere in such a way that survive that the species can't breathe out very properly. Or if there is a water pollution, then it may be happen that there is some kind of chemicals that are being entering into the body, and based on that they can't survive anymore, so they are degrading the habitat. Okay, eutrophication. Danish, what is eutrophication?
Yes, ma'am.
What is eutrophication?
Ma'am, basically eutrophication, the increase of chemicals in the water system
Yes.
to
Yes,
the
Kuldeep.
decrease of its quality.
Ma'am, eutrophication is the process when there is uh, attack of species species like some fauna that
Uh,
covers the lake or a pond, and
uh, no,
if the
no. Uh,
invasive species.
no, this is like in previous class we talked about succession, and in succession we talked about in the water bodies we first have the phytoplankton, suppose. Okay, and phytoplanktons, then we have some sediments in the water body. Then after that phytoplanktons, we had some emerging plants. Then the sedimentation increased, and at the last what happened that this water body changed into the woodland. So this was kind of succession, right? So if this succession is anthropogenically, if we are doing very rapidly this succession, then this is the eutrophication. And how eutrophication means we are enriching this water body with the nutrients. Suppose, because we know that in a water body we don't have much nitrogen, we don't have much phosphorus in the water body. Okay, and because of that, we don't have much grasses or much species in it, because it is low in nutrient. But because of fertilizer, because of some chemicals that are injecting in the water body, we are enriching this water body with the nutrients. And because of nutrients, the plants, the phytoplanktons, other type of species will survive there, and they will die of the sedimentation will happen. There will be increment in the sediment, and this will fasten the succession. If the succession should be had in the thousands of years, then because of this fertilizer, this water body will be finished and will be turned into this forest or the woodland, let's say within 30 or 50 years, because of the enrichment of water body with the nutrients. So this is the kind of eutrophication. So is it clear, Danish and Kuldeep, what happened in the eutrophication?
Ma'am.
Okay. Then we have trash. Because of some trash, we are degrading the quality. For example, ghost net. Here we can see we use this kind of net to trap the fishes, but it may be happen that the fish catcher leave this kind of net within the water body, if it is not the you if it is not in the use, if it is the useless, then what will happen? It may be that some other species can trapped into this net, and they can't go out and go in somewhere else. So the range of that species is being narrowing down, and it may be happen that they need a large range to survive. Okay, so because of that, we can lose our species because of this ghost net and the plastic. Then we have the erosion. If there is a erosion, fire regimes, water over exploitation, deforestation, desertification, so these kind of things are degrading the habitat. Here we have the draining, dredging, and damming. So what's the difference between this draining, dredging, and damming? Is draining means we are draining out the water. Okay, we are pulling the water, and we are just extracting the water from that water body. Dredging means if we are removing the sediments from that water body. Damming, you know about the dam, the creation of the dam. So because of also we are degrading our habitat. Then over exploitation and the introduction to exotic species. Then we have the habitat loss. So what it is that the quality of the habitat is so low that habitat is no longer usable by the given species. Here we can see these species can survive here, but the species, the population, the individual of that population will be reduced. But this is the habitat where they are living. But habitat loss is the quality is so low that the habitat is no longer usable by the given species. Then we have the fragmentation. Fragmentation is nothing but the landscape is broken down into small parcels. Okay, if we have a large chunk of area, then we have cut it down. So I just want to know how we can do the habitat fragmentation.
Ma'am, by building roads between the forests.
Exactly. And what will be the effect of this constructing this road in between the forest? What will happen?
Ma'am, could you repeat the question, please?
If there is a road within that forest, so what will happen? How this can impact the species?
Ma'am, basically, like it divides the forest into two parts. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, the animals will not go from one, like the one side from the another side, and it will also like reduce their settlement area and also their prey if they are so even if they're crossing the roads, so there may be very high chance of like their accidents and something mishappenings. So
Yes,
that also
exactly.
cause.
Ma'am,
to the biodiversity.
Okay. So there are casual agents that road, railways, dams, or another structure that you already have discussed. And because of that, the mortality can be happened. If they are crossing the road, accident can be, and the mortality will be there. Then the physical barrier, it will create just as a barrier, and whatever the range of habitat it was, it will be reduced. Then we have the psychological barrier. Psychological barrier means because some species know that if we cross the road, we may get died. Okay, so it have to be in their mind that they don't need to cross that road or the railway or the dam. So because of that, they will leave only the small area, and it may be that that small area is not that much sufficient for their survival, and then we may lose this species. Then we have the access to anthropogenic influence. If we are constructing a road or the railways, then in the core area of that forest, human can enter very easily. And because of the human interference, and you know that human always do some kind of destruction, mainly the destruction. So based on that, this habitat fragmentation can lead to the loss of the species. Then access to invasive and exotic species, because there is a human interference can be happen. If there is a train and some boy or some girl is eating some exotic fruit, let's say, and if he or she throws that seed into that forest, so what will happen? It may be that some exotic species may grow in that forest, and this may destruct the native species. So this is the access to invasive and the exotic species.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, exotic food means junk food.
No, exotic food means the food that has been imported from somewhere else. It is the not native fruit or
Oh, okay, okay.
yes. Then
Got
the
it.
diversion of land for agriculture. So if we are taking some land of the forest to create the agricultural area, then we are fragmenting this habitat. Then these effects will be isolation. Some species need another individuals to be there for their survival, for their stability. And if two individuals are living apart, then this is the isolation case. Then we have the edge effect, because they are the fragmentation, and fragmentation will create the outer boundary, and this outer boundary is allowing the humans to enter. Okay, so this is the edge effect. Then the loss of habitat core, this is same like the habitat effect, sorry, edge effect. Then uh, in this we have four processes. Habitat fragmentation, the first is dissection. Dissection means we are creating, let's say, the road in between that forest. Okay, so this is dissection. Perforation, this is making some more holes in that forest area, because there is a road. It may be happen that some unemployed person thought that there is a like there is no any shop, and I should construct a shop here, and then I will sell something here so that I can earn something from there. Okay, so it will start to stay there in within that forest, and it may be happen that just he just likes that habitat area, and he will bring the family there only, and they start to survive and they start to inhabit that area. So this is the perforation. Perforation means making some hole into that area after that dissection. Then we have the attrition. Attrition means because it has come with his family there, so they need some hospital, they need some like agricultural area, so they will fragment it again, means they will make it the very smaller area. So let's say it was 1 hectare forest area. Because of dissection, just road has been crossed, because of some perforation, let's say some meter area has been encroached out, but because of attrition, because of the building of school, of hospital, so this habitat or this forest has been reduced in the size, so it is making smaller size. So this is the attrition. Then because of this attrition, because of so this is the process of fragmentation, and because of this fragmentation, what will happen, because if there is a no habitat to live there, then obviously extinction will be happened. Okay, the next question is, why do larger fragments sport more species? Kuldeep, can you answer? Can you guess something? Why do larger fragments sport more species?
Ma'am, because when we have more, bigger size of biome or habitat, then
Mhm.
we have we have core. So,
Yes,
uh, I mean,
you can
ma'am, I
explain
don't.
from there as well. We have 3 points. If there is a larger area means there may be a diversity in the environment as well, like in 1 kilometer it may be like it is a cold, or it may be cold environment. After that you may get some humid environment, and because of the differentiation in environment you can get more habitat. And if there is a more habitat, then obviously more habitat means more species will be there, and we may have some common as well as uncommon species there. And we have the larger population, so because of larger population we talked about it, the declining population paradigm and the small population dynamics, in which it says that if we have the larger population, then the extinction chance become less. Okay, then we have the habitat displacement. So can you see here we have heel, and in that heel, because of human need, we have converted this part of heel into the agricultural area, but it was like forest area once upon a time. So because this has been converted into agriculture, so whatever the wildlife we had in that area, these species or these wildlife we have to shift in the upper side or in somewhere else. So this is the habitat displacement. So shifting of wildlife to non-prime or subprime habitat. This was very conducive environment for the wildlife, but at the top it may be that it is not very good habitat for them, but they have to shift to that non-prime habitat. So this is the habitat displacement. Okay, so we talked about the threat, different type of threat we had by the humans, by the nature. So we want to conserve our species. So how we can conserve it? So, and because we have very limited resources, suppose in the first slide we saw that 940 species has been extinct, and some species are extinct in the wild, and some species are very critically endangered, but we can't safeguard all the species, and we have to select some species to conserve them. Okay, so what should be the criteria? What should be the criteria to select the species? Key, okay, these are the list of the species that we need to conserve, because we can't conserve all the species. So what will be the criteria? So okay, so first we have to see the definition. Definition of conservation says it is the practice of sensible or careful use of the natural resources. So this is the conservation. And if we talk about the definition of wildlife, so it include any plant, aquatic or land vegetation which form part of any habitat. So let's talk about the prioritizing species to conserve. Which species we need to conserve out of thousands of species? So we have some criteria. The one is keystone species. What do you mean by keystone species? It is like if we have one species or upon which the another species are dependent, okay, or the ecosystem, the stability of ecosystem is dependent upon that species relatively higher. Okay, for example, we have the lion. So in this lion can do more than one function. So one function is that it will kill the deers. Okay, so after killing the deers, so it will protect the grasses, different type of trees, to not be vanished, because deers are the herbivores, and if there is a larger number of deers, then it may be happen that all the grasses has been grazed by the deers, so the ecosystem can be vanished. So this lion will control the population of herbivores. This is the one function. Then another function is that because it will kill something, so there may be some organic matter in the soil as well. Okay, so this organic matter in the soil will enrich the quality of soil, so it is maintaining the soil fertility as well. Okay, then here we can see carcass and rich soil supporting plant and invertebrates. Okay, and then if because it is killing the deer, then we will have the carcass, and the bird depend on this carcass, such as the eagle. So you can say that if we have lion, then it is controlling the system, not completely but partially it controlling the whole system. And so that's why this is the keystone species. And most of the time we have the top predators, so these top predators are mostly the keystone species. So the definition of keystone species is some species play critical ecological role that are of the greater importance that we would predict from their abundance. So the first priority is we have to conserve the keystone species. Okay, then we have the umbrella species. Umbrella species is like if we have elephant, and you know that elephant needs more than 1 hectare area to survive, because it live on that grasses, and if there is a no grasses, then he will move next step and will eat the grasses, will move next step, will uh, eat the grasses, and then it will return to the initial stage. This way he completes the hungriness of that species. Okay, so we need a larger range. Okay, so he will try to conserve the larger range of that habitat, and in that larger range we may have different another type of species. Suppose we have monkey, we have birds, we have parrots. So this is the umbrella species. Umbrella species means a species with large home range, and because of large home range, he or she, the species, will protect that habitat, and because of that protection it automatically provide protection to other several species that are within that range. So this is the umbrella species. Then we have the flagship species. For example, these species are very cute, and these have some religious importance. So based on that, we may get some funds. For example, we know that this people tree is very religious in nature, so we may generate some fund from the people to conserve it. Okay, so this is kind of flagship species. So whenever, if we are completing the three criteria, if one species is also the keystone, is also the umbrella, is also the flagship species, then we must give priority to that species to conserve. Okay, so the conservation priority for this species that meet all three definitions. Okay, and they are important for their habitat. They will protect the another species, and they're also able to generate funding and support for the cause of conservation, and such as the tiger. Okay, so Danish, is there any like justification you need, like which species we need to conserve first?
Um,
Yeah,
we need
ma'am, the
to.
endangered one.
Kuldeep, you had some query?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes,
Endangered. Yeah, we
Endangered.
should conserve endangered.
you should you should conserve endangered.
Endangered
Endangered
one.
birds.
Yes, yes, you have to conserve endangered bird. Okay, so you have like you have the category of species. Some are endangered and some are not endangered. If they are endangered and if we are losing that species in a very high pace, then yes, the priority would be to conserve that endangered species. But among that endangered species, if we have like thousands of species and if we want to conserve, then this is the prioritized species to conserve. Okay, then we have the population viability analysis as well. So in this is a process by which we can estimate what will be the extinction probability of that species based on some data, and these data may be related to the like what's the birth rate, what's the stochastic factor that can be happened, what's the climatic condition, what's the fertility rate. So based on such kind of data we can estimate like what will be the extinction probability, in how much year the species will extinct. So this can be analyzed based on some mathematical models or the computer simulations, where as a input we give some inputs such as the sex ratio, the life expectancy, the home range, and even the threat. Like if there may be flood, there may be drought. So based on that threats and because of the data of that individual itself, we can estimate like in what year this will extinct, or by which year it will survive, and what should be our conservation policy, what should be our conservation management there. Okay, so this is the population viability analysis. Okay, now if we want to conserve the biodiversity, then we have two different type of conservation. One is in situ and one is ex situ. If we are conserving our species within its natural habitat, then it is the in situ, and if we are conserving it outside the natural habitat, then it is ex situ. Okay, we have some, like we have national park, we have wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reserve, sacred groves that are within this in situ conservation. And in ex situ conservation we have the zoological park, botanical garden, gene bank, and the cryo preservation. So the one question from my side is, what's the difference between national park, wildlife sanctuary, and biosphere reserves? Kuldeep, will you try to answer it?
Ma'am, I can try.
Yes.
National park is a broad term for natural habitats, I guess.
Like these are the conserved area, you have to keep in mind. Yes, Danish want to answer.
Ma'am, may I answer?
Yes.
Ma'am, basically, the main core difference is the like the area or the protected area. Like in national parks, we have certain rights that are allowed. We have something like of no grazing of any livestock shall be permitted in national parks. But in wildlife sanctuaries, we can do that thing. And in biosphere reserves, there may be some human activities that, like the tribal settlements, can also prevail there.
Okay, so yes, that is right. The difference lies with the level of the protection we have among different type of conservation areas. For example, we have the biosphere reserve. In that biosphere reserve we have very less or very little kind of protection, and the motto is not that much to conserve, but it is the sustainable natural resource extraction. Okay, so let's take the example. If we want to extract the timber from the forest, and we want to extract in such a way that we don't want to lose any species. Okay, so this is kind of sustainable natural resource extraction. So if it is happening, then, and if that kind of protection we have in that area, then this will be the biosphere reserves. Okay, here the main motto is that we want some resources from that forest, but in such a way that we don't want to hurt any kind of species. So this will be the biosphere reserve. Then we have the then we have the national park. Here the main motto is the conservation of the wildlife. Okay, and this is mostly the areas where research facilities also there. Then some entertainment activities can be happened, and some kind of like flexibility can be given to the peoples to go there and to see there, to have some research and to see the species whatever we have. But there are more protection as comparison to the biosphere reserve. So this is the national park. And if we talk about the wildlife sanctuary, then in the wildlife sanctuary we mostly have the endangered species, and this is the main motto of this wildlife sanctuary is also the conservation, but there is more restriction while intervening this system. Okay, so and we have the sacred groves. These are the groups, like these are the areas where we have some sacred or religious plants or the species we grow. Okay, so these are the in situ conservation. And by this in situ, because the species, the wildlife are there within its natural habitats, they are not going anywhere else. The conservation is being done at their spot only. Okay, but if we talk about the ex situ, then we just move the species from their natural habitat to some artificial environment, to some artificial condition. And this is the ex situ conservation, in which we have the zoological park, botanical garden, gene bank, and the cryopreservation. Let's see. Okay, in situ conservation, the area in the natural habitat are designed as reserve, national park, and the protected areas. And in this area, ecological monitoring and intervention are done. And we also need some legislation to maintain these kind of areas. We have some advantage and disadvantage of in situ conservation. We have, firstly we have the advantage are species continue to live in their natural environment, they don't need to go somewhere else. Okay, then we have lows, disruptive, less costly, because they are living in their natural habitat, we don't need to create any artificial condition for them. So because of that, this is less costly. Then the natural behaviors are maintained. Tigers don't forget how to hunt. Okay, and because here natural behaviors are maintained. Then the protection of natural habitat provided protection to other species as well. Suppose we, because this is the protection area for some endangered species, but because because of its umbrella, because it being the umbrella species, or because we are protecting that area, it may be happen that some other species may also be protected by it. Okay, then because of that ex situ conservation, in ex situ conservation we are shifting some species to another artificial condition, and if the population of that species grows, then we can shift it into some their natural habitats. Okay, so we can shift them into the in situ conservation region as well. So this is, even in the case of ex situ conservation, the animal will need to be released somewhere, and this in situ conservation sites provide suitable area for such release. Okay, and these reserves can be used for the scientific studies and as well as for the public awareness. Then we also have some disadvantage of in situ conservation because it require very large area, and you know that because we are overpopulated, then we need some land to also habitat as a habitat. So because it require larger area, so it's kind of disadvantage for the human beings. Okay, then we have the less intensive protection and management. We are not caring a very specific individual, we are just protecting the habitat in such a way that these habitat can protect all the species there. But what happened in the zoo, in the zoo we protect each species individually. So here we have less intensive protection and the management. There may be happen that there is the threat of disease or disaster, and we can't control it very in complete manner. Of course in partial manner we can control it. Okay, then large establishment requirement in such area. So this is just like the large areas we need. So large investment we need in that area. Then we have the ex situ conservation. Here we can see, here is the aquarium, the tiger in the zoo. Here we have the seed bank in which we can keep or store some seed in such a way that if some species extinct, then we can make use of these seeds to revive that species. Okay, so we have the seed bank. Then we have cryosphere. The genetic material of any species can be conserved at very low temperature. So this is the cryopreservation. We are storing the genetic resources or genetic biodiversity within the cryo conditions. Then we have the botanical garden in which different type of species can be thrive or grow, and we are maintaining it. So this is the botanical gardens. We also have we also have bamboo sita. Bamboo sita means just like a botanical garden, but it don't have the different species of plants, but it have different species of bamboo only. Okay, so this is bamboo sita. Arboreta, this is uh, fruiting plants. So we have different variety of fruiting plants in that region. That it is the arboreta. Okay, so this is the infrastructure. Then in the process we design this area with suitable conditions and facilities. Okay, and species are moved in that area for their survival and breeding. And after that, if they are surviving, if they are breeding, then we can release into other natural habitat. Okay, and why we are doing this ex situ conservation in place of in situ conservation? Can you guess, Danish? Danish, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, I didn't get your voice properly.
Okay, so my question was like if there is a in situ conservation where the animal or the species can live within their natural habitat, then why do we have this ex situ conservation as well? What's the
Ma'am,
need of
first,
it?
Ma'am, basically, like for research, like the one is for research purposes, as all we know. The second one, like if the species is very critically endangered, so we
Mhm.
can conserve it in a space, like safe space, creating its own environment, that like we make zoos and botanical gardens.
Yes. Kuldeep, you wanted to say something? Okay, so why we have access to conservation is that, let's say I give you one example. If we have only like 10 individuals of a species, okay, and we know that they are living very apart, and it may be happen that because of some mutation or maybe some reason, there is like breeding is not happening. And if breeding will not happen, that it may be happen that species can extinct. So we need some center where in vitro fertilization can be happen, where we can do some intensive care of that species, of that individual, so that they can grow in numbers. Okay, so because of that need, we need the ex situ conservation. Here we can see in infrastructure we have third point, captive breeding facilities. What was happening with the tortoise is that different species are being extincting. So we do have some captive breeding facility in Odisha where we have the turtles. uh, in that captive breeding facility, we give the facility for that turtle to breed in such a way that they can increase in their population size. Okay, so this is the need of the ex situ conservation. We have some advantage. This is allowing better control of variables such as climate, disease, diet, etc. Then it also provides some close observation to better understand the species and proximate cause of its extinction. And the interventions such as in vitro fertilization, embryo fertilization permit permit our intensive intervention so that these species can survive. But they also have some disadvantages are, it does not prevent loss of habitat, because we human are just destroying their habitat. And if we don't have the habitat, then where these species will go after increasing in the size? So this kind of conservation does not does not prevent loss of habitat. Okay, and it can be planned only for few species as a one time. We can't conserve all the species in the ex situ conservation. We have to rely on the in situ conservation. Then some wild behavior may be lost. There may be that tiger or monkey loses the behavior they have of the hunting. Okay, then captive breed and raised individual may find it difficult when reintroduced because of the changes in the wild behavior. Then there may be chance of inbreeding if not planned properly, and it is also the costlier one. Then because we want to conserve our species, we want to conserve the wildlife, then we had some traditional way to creating the reserve. So some years ago, they selected the regions that were very beautiful, that were high, there were high species diversity. So such kind of region has been created as a reserve in the traditional manner. But these were not the scientific, because based on these beautiful areas we can't create it as a reserve. Okay, so for creating the reserve we must have some scientific view before creating. So this scientific view says, if some areas have high species richness, or the high species endemism, or the high species under threat, then just like the hotspot, so these areas must be preserved or must be conserved. Okay, and if we have some area where we have lost most of the species, then that area not need to be reserved, but the area where there is a most of the focus is the medium level threat is there. And if there is a no threat, then we can ignore initially to make it the reserve area. So whenever we have medium kind of threat, then this area should be conserved. Okay, then I should skip this because this is not that much important right now. Then there are some principles of reserve design. So first principle says that bigger is better than smaller. So what does it mean? Why the bigger is better than small? Danish, can you guess?
because it will provide more space.
Yes, so we will have more habitat, and if we have more habitat, we have diverse kind of habitat, we have diverse environment. So So whenever we are creating an reserve, so it will be better if we have the bigger area as comparison to the smaller area. Okay, the next principle says that one big is better than several small of same total area. Kuldeep, can you guess why it is?
Ma'am, no idea.
Danish?
Ma'am, it is smaller. That's why. That is one big and smaller is fragmented.
I couldn't get what you wanted to say.
Ma'am,
Yes.
it is one bigger one, and smaller is fragmented into smaller parts. So bigger one is better, obviously.
Yes, so I wanted to know why this bigger is better as comparison to the fragmented it for reasons. Why it is better?
It has no core. It has less.
Yes.
Uh, I mean, connectivity.
Yes, exactly. Because of the connectivity. The main reason is the connectivity. There is a no connectivity, and there is a less core within that for reason. That's why the one is better than several small of the same total area. Then third is closer reserves minimize isolation. So proximity. If we have four fragmented region, then these regions should be closer to each other, not far apart. Why the proximity is very important for us, Danish? It is also the case of the connectivity, right?
As Deep said, the important factor is the connectivity. If we are not
Yes.
being a big, but we are having some several small like patches, so we make it like in a proximate location that it can allows like very easy connectivity to like interchanging the habitats.
Yes, exactly. And if one species want to breed with the another individual of the same species, then there must be connectivity. So then a species can maintain the population size. Okay, so the connectivity is very important. If they are aggregated, if they are closer to each other, if there is a proximity, then it is better. And if they are far apart, then it is worse. Okay, then the next is the circular reserve has less biotic pressure. If we have circular and if we also have the linear, so why would we prefer that circular in place of linear? Kuldeep, can
Ma'am,
you guess?
uh,
Yes.
yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, because linear reserves prone to uh, they prone to get dispersed soon. Uh, I mean, they are prone to uh,
Yes.
get affected by the
Get
around
affected by
surrounding.
the humans, right? Here we can see that in the circular
Yes,
area we have some core area, and if there is a intervention by the humans, if humans are encroaching or interfering, so they have to move a larger area in the for reaching the core area. But here we can see if there is a rectangular in shape, then human can reach very rapidly in the core area. Okay, so to
yes,
avoid the
ma'am.
entry or the interference of the human in the core area, we it is better to have the circular reserve as comparison to the linear reserve. Okay, so this is the principle of the reserve design. Okay, then we have the biodiversity intactness index. So this index give us the idea that which location currently has the substantial amount of biodiversity. So that if we have such kind of idea, then we can create the biosphere. Sorry, we can create the reserve or sanctuary or the national park in that area in which we have a larger number of biodiversity. Okay, so this intactness index tell us like which area has a high intactness index, means high biodiversity we have in that area, and based on that we can manage or we can plan our the creation of the national park or the sanctuaries. Then okay, firstly we talked about the threat, whatever the threat the species is facing. Then we talked about like if there is a threat then we must conserve it. Then yes, we talked about the ex situ conservation, in situ conservation, and the principles of the designing of this reserve, how we can conserve the species in very efficient way. Then why we are conserving it, what's the benefit we can get from this conservation, from this species? So Danish, what's the benefit we can get from the conservation?
Benefits that we get from the species, uh, first of all we will achieve the balance of nature,
Yes,
as important the humans are, the habitat, the natural vegetation are also important, including the wildlife, because it is created in a balancing mode. And we can derive several values from it, like social values we are having from sacred groups and community reserves.
yes,
Optimal value we can get from the timber, and we get medicines, we get drugs from it, and we also get ecotourism, which is a very boon to the tourism industry nowadays. So these are
exactly.
basic benefits we get from wildlife and vegetation, and by conserving it.
Okay, so for example, let's talk about the benefit from the conservation. So first talk about like if we have a crop and that crop is dying very easily in the hot environment or in the extreme environment. So we want some mutation or something in that crop so that we can like this species can uphold the extreme condition. Or if there is a like if there is a some insects that are creating some disturbances in the crops. Okay, so what will happen, we need some modification in the at the genetic level. Okay, so there must be the diversity of the genetics. So if we have biodiversity, if we have wildlife, so you can assume that more the number of wildlife we have, more the genetic variations we have among this wildlife. So it may be that we have some species in which there is some gene then can control the insect interference. Okay, so that gene can be brought from that plant to some crop, and that's way we have some genetically modified crops. Okay, or the organisms in which we incorporate some kind of gene from another plants or another organism to that specific plants or the organism in such a way that it can uphold the extreme condition. So one is because we have more number of species or wildlife, we have the genetic resource, we have more genetic resource. Then if we are breathing, then we need oxygen. From where this oxygen will come, this will come from the forest only. If there is a if we have a uh, if there is a high temperature or the high precipitation, soil erosion can be happened. Okay, but we are the forest, we have trees that can we can avoid this type of soil erosion from that species. Okay, and if we have different kind of species and the level of avoiding the erosion is dependent on the different type of species. Okay, so even we need honey, we need timber, we need we just want to create the bd as well, we need the plant, we need the leaf of that plant. So everything, most of the thing we take from that ecosystem. So this is if we are getting the benefit from the conservation, then we called it it is the ecosystem services that we get. Okay, so we have like what's the ecosystem services, these are the benefit that people obtained from this is from well functioning ecosystem. And we have four different type of ecosystem services. The one is provisioning, as Danish told, that we need timber. So we need some materialistic thing. If we are talking about the materialistic thing, then we are talking about the provisioning ecosystem services. Okay, and this include food, fiber, biomass, and etc. If we want to talk about this cultural, then yes, ecotourism. Some if there is some kind of depression, then some doctor says that go to the forest, breath and see the forest, the beauty of the forest in such a way that that people may heal. Okay, so this is the cultural ecosystem service. Then we have the sporting ecosystem services, such as that sports the ecosystem, such as nutrient cycling, water cycling, and soil formation, photosynthesis, etc. And we also have the regulating, that regulate the earth processes that are being driven. Okay, so for example, it is the quality of the air is being improved by this kind of ecosystem. The climate is being regulating by the ecosystem. So this is the regulating. Okay, so we have provisioning services, such as we get food, we get raw material, we get genetic resources, we get purified water, medicinal resources, energy, ornamental resources. All we get from the ecosystem, or let's say from any forest. So if we don't conserve it, we will not have the provisioning service that are providing by the forest or the ecosystem services. Okay, so this was the provisioning services. Then we have the regulating services: carbon sequestration, climate regulation, biological control of pest population through predation, then waste decomposition and detoxification, bioremediation. So we have a lot of regulating services that are being provided by the ecosystem. Then we have the sporting services: soil formation, humus formation, nutrient cycle, oxygen generation, then biological mediated habitats such as coral, mangroves, and the pollinations. Okay, so such kind of services can also be provided by the ecosystem. So these type of services come under the sporting services. Then we have the cultural services, recreational, as Danish told. Then we have the scientific and educational, then religious and spiritual, cultural, therapeutic, and then the inspiration. You know that most of the songs and films are being written when the author goes to the forest, because forest give us that fresh mind, where and because forest, the nature is very balanced, and it gives some kind of principles, and based on that principle, on that inspiration, we write some poem, we write the film, and many more, like the paintings we do regarding this forest. So such kind of things come under this cultural services. Okay, now the question is, if we have this if we have if one industry want to come in that forest area, so government told that yes, you have to remove that forest from that area, and we want to construct a industry there. Okay, so how will you avoid this kind of situation? How will you convince the government that not, we don't want that industry in that area, but we want the forest in that area? So how would you have some proof, how would you have some evidence of the forest being a good one as comparison to the industry? So can you explain, Danish, how we can protect our forest?
Ma'am, we can protect by giving the proof of its productivity, its diverseness, and the loss of
Let's
wildlife
say
or
I give you one example. If a industry says that if I come to that area, I will generate 1 crore rupees per year. Okay, and it will give benefit to the nearby people, that I will give you the employment, and hospital will be there, schools will be there. Okay, so I will generate a higher GDP. So how will you challenge that? No, I want the forest only, not you. So we need some calculation in the money as well, right?
Ma'am, I'll just argue this with a lion of 7 years of age can produce up to 5 lakh and $15 billion in its all in 7 years, which is far more greater than 1 crore per year. The
Okay.
amount of sitting
Yes.
elephant giving more than 1 billion per year. The amount of the gorillas, which is the endemic species, let's say in a subcontinent of Africa, it is providing $4 billion or more in terms of ecotourism and something like that. So these are far more better values than providing or building a industry by turning a forest into like concrete land. So I think
Exactly. So
uh,
my point was that if you want to avoid such situation, then you should have some numbers. Okay, you should have some like money value of that forest services that are being provided. Suppose if it is providing, let's say, the recreational, it will create some tourism. Okay, and if it is a tourism, then it will bring some money. Okay, so we are talking about the money, and if we can explain that yes, forest will generate more money than the industry, then we can win the case. Okay, so the conclusion is that we need some number with which we can argue. Okay, so it means you have to evaluate our ecosystem services. Okay, you have to give some number, like if it is the recreational service that is providing by the forest, so what's the amount that it is saving. Okay, that it is generating. So we have to play with the numbers to win the case. Okay, so this is the we have the invest model, in which we can do the valuation of the ecosystem services and the trade off. So this is kind of software we have in our ArcGIS, or like this is the GIS based model, in which we do the valuation of the ecosystem service. We give some physical information, and it will provide us the economic information. Let's say we give the forest area to that GIS model, then this GIS model will tell us the how much carbon is being stored or sequestered in that area, and what will be the money value of that carbon storage by that forest. So this is the invest model. Okay, then because we want to do the valuation of the ecosystem services, so we have some evaluation methods. If we want to know what will be the benefit of that ecosystem services will have on the employment, then we can estimate it as the working days. So this is the working days, and then the wage rate. What's the wage rate, and how many people are working there in that in that ecosystem. Okay, so this how we can estimate the employment benefit. Okay, if we want to estimate the fishing benefit, the fodder benefit, then what we can do is, like, how much production we got multiply by the market price. Then if we have the water provisional benefit, how much water we are getting from that ecosystem into the market price. If we want to know, like, if a ecosystem is doing the water purification, so how much money we are saving by this water purification. This will be how much water you purified, multiplied by the average cost of treating that water. Likewise, we have the air quality benefit. Then we have how much soil we are conserving from the erosion. So erosion avoided multiplied by the cost of the damage avoided. Then we have nutrient retention benefits. This is same. Then we have carbon sequestration benefits. So this benefit is how much carbon has been restored into the market, the price of that carbon. So this can also be estimated using, if that much carbon is being released into the atmosphere, so what will be the impact? Like we will get disease, so the treatment of the disease will, we have to spend some money on it. So what's the amount of money we have to spend on it? So this is the social cost of carbon. So we can multiply it and we can get the carbon sequestration benefit. Then likewise we have carbon storage benefit. Then we have some like gene pool benefit, we talked about it. Then different type of habitat, the climate regulation benefits. So this can be estimated using the benefit transfer method. So what it is just like if we have small area and we are calculating, if we have that much gene pool, then what will be the cost of it? Then we are applying it to the larger area. So this is the benefit transfer. We are transferring the value of one ecosystem to the larger ecosystem. So this is the benefit transfer method. Then we have cultural heritage, as Danish told, that in the cultural we will have some, sorry, in the cultural heritage, if we have the people tree and if we are just cutting out it, then there are some sentiments of the peoples there. So whatever the compensation they want. Okay, so this will be the contingent valuation method. And yes, Danish told about this recreational benefit. So we will estimate like how much tourism it has been generating. So we have to come, the transportation charges, then the hospitality charges, then they are moving in the gypsy, then we will take some charges from them. So the different type of charges will be added and we will get some number. So by these calculation of such benefit and their valuation, we can estimate a forest have that much, important, because these are creating far more billions of dollar uh, employment, the generation is happening as comparison to the industries. Okay, then this is I think last one. Why do we need so many plants? There are two hypotheses. The one is redundancy hypothesis. It says that if we have large number of species, if we have large number of population, then we will have the stable conditions. The extinction will be less. So this is the redundancy hypothesis. Then we have the portfolio effect. Portfolio effect is just like that. Uh, we want to invest in different type of things, like we want to invest in gold, we want to invest in, let's say, bank, we want to in the stock market. So we don't want to invest in only one thing, we want to invest in many things. So just like that, and because of many different type of investment, we feel secure. Okay, if one type of investment may get negative, then a negative effect, then it will, the net effect may be positive. So likewise, if we have different kind of plants, then it will be the stable condition. So this is the portfolio effect. Okay, this is a very casual slide in which it was said that conservation is all about the choice, or ecosystem service are all about the choice. So you can also create the wall to protect from the tsunami, and you also grow the mangrove forest. So it's your choice what kind of decision you are taking. You can have the water purification plants such as RO, or you may create the wetland, then can that can purify our plants. So this is all about the choice that we are taking. Okay, okay, so these are the assignment questions. I already have bold out. Okay, so if there is any doubt, Danish, among these four assignment question, you can ask me. Kuldeep, you wanted to say something?
No, ma'am, not
Uh,
really today.
what happened? Topic was not that much favorable to you, or you are engaged with some another thing? Because I think mid semester is also here.
Yeah, ma'am, both are the reason. For me,
Uh-huh.
it is not I mean, I have never actually get into it, and Danis has this in his syllabus, but I don't have. And the second reason is we have some some test tomorrow, so we have to prepare for that also.
Okay, so what subject test you will take?
Midterm another day.
We have
Okay. What?
sessional test for geography, resource geography, and
Okay. Yes, I
yeah.
can understand. I also see some people in my institute as well, because mid semester has been started and they people are going to library, or like they are very busy right now because it's the mid semester time. So people must be busy there as well. So yes, I understand it. So, if there is any problem in that question, the cost of impact caused by the emission of carbon dioxide is known as social cost of carbon. So, why it is not the economic cost or cultural cost of carbon? Danish, can you explain?
Um, Ma'am, because we cannot um, like what do we say? Not
Okay,
getting the
so the cost of impact caused by the emission of carbon dioxide, it will be the social cost. Why is social cost? So it may affect our health. Okay, and if it is impacting our health, we have to go hospital. Okay, we may have some diseases. We have to treat it. We have to spend some money on it. So whatever the money we have to spend because of our social impact due to this carbon dioxide, so that's why this is the social cost of carbon. Soil formation is example of sporting service. Then yes, if we have three level of threat, the one region where all the species has been extinct, then we have the medium threat where there is some species that we need to conserve, and the third condition we have very low threat where we don't need to worry. Okay, so we would prefer the medium level of threat to conserve. Then you people know about this umbrella, keystone, and flagship species. If there is a doubt, then you people can ask me. Kuldeep, do you know what is umbrella, what is keystone, and what is flagship species? Because you were doing something, so I that's why I'm asking you.
Ma'am, I only know about the flagship one.
Okay, so what's the flagship?
Ma'am, flagship is more that is more, everyone
More
is one
known, very cute, and where we have like human attention is more
popular.
to that
Yeah.
species, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And umbrella species is from umbrella you can estimate, like it has a very long range habitat. So for example, we have elephant can survive only 5 kilometer if the area is 5 kilometer, let's say. So whatever the species we have within the 5 kilometer, so all species will be protected. So so that's why elephant is the umbrella species, because the home range of that species is very large. And what's about keystone species? Can you guess?
Um, no, ma'am, not really.
Okay, so keystone species is like if it is controlling the whole system. I gave you the example of
I
tiger.
got it, ma'am. I got it. I got it.
Okay,
Like
so this is the
coral reef,
keystone. Yes.
like coral reef, weeds.
Okay. Yes. Exactly. I think you have googled.
No,
Anyways.
no, ma'am. No, ma'am. I did not. Actually, I did not.
Okay. So I think you people know about it all. Either it is Keystone, provisioning services. What four services is the ecosystem provide, Kuldeep? What are the four services that ecosystem provides?
Um,
Because you were not that much attentive, that why I'm poking you.
yeah, ma'am, I was not. Yeah, that's true.
That's
Yes.
why I'm asking questions from you only at the end because. So, what were the four services that ecosystem provide?
Ma'am,
Here, you six question. You can see the four services name.
yeah, I am just reading this regulating, cultural, supporting, and provisioning
Yes.
services.
So these are the four services. So I think this was all about the biodiversity, how we can conserve it, and what will be the benefit of the conservation. So if there is any doubt, then you can ask. Otherwise, we can leave.
Um,
Danish, any question? Kuldeep?
No,
no,
ma'am.
ma'am.